Recently, I read The Richest Man in Babylon, and I want to share some key takeaways from this book. If you haven't had a chance to read the book yet, I encourage you to go out, purchase the book. You can also use the link in the description box to find The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a great book. I was written back in 1920, and it is a compilation of different pamphlets that were put together and published. And it's a story of a young man who's learning how to gain wealth, how to build his income, and how to be prosperous financially. And so I'm going to delve into the 7 cures for a lean purse. And that is one of the concepts that is taught in this book. Again, it is highly encouraged that you get the book for yourself. But I'm going to go through some portions of it so that you can get a handle on some of the great teaching that has stood the test of time for over 100 years and has allowed people to gain wealth, to manage their finances well, and to learn how to be prosperous. So um, today we're going to dig right in to the 7 cures for a lean purse. The first cure for a lean purse is start thy purse to fattening. The quote I'm going to read says, Arcad advises on saving 10% of your income to start building up your wealth. It says, for every 10 coins thou placest within thy purse, take out for use but 9. Thy purse will start to fatten at once, and its increasing weight will feel good in thy hand and bring satisfaction to thy soul. Now imagine back centuries ago, people didn't use dollar bills. People did not use times they had coins. And now these coins were silver or gold or whatever was made at the time. And it was a coin that gave you the right to purchase. And it was also a coin that was given in exchange for services rendered. So the first cure is that you, yes, you have a right to keep money for yourself. So if you earn $10 today, take $1 and put it aside for your future, for your savings, for your investments, and use the other 9 to be able to afford your lifestyle. Now, for me, I make sure that I not only put aside 10% for my own savings, but I also put aside 10% for giving. And so that leaves 80%, 8 out of $10 that I can use to pay for things like my housing, things like my food, things like the clothes that I wear, or things like paying for my son to go to school and to have all of his book supplies and the resources he needs. So, what they're teaching in this section of the book is that you have to put aside money if you're ever going to build wealth. If you earn $10 and spend $10, you'll never become wealthy. If you earn $10 and spend $15 because you put in some extra stuff on a credit card, you will never build wealth. So it's so important. This first cure is so very important, and there are many ways you can accomplish it. First, you can open up a savings account and a checking account. Now, there are some accounts that allow you to automatically withdraw money from your checking account and place it into your savings account. And so on repeat, you're automatically saving. Now, there are different programs, so you have to look into what your bank offers. Some of them are roundup programs. Others allow you to designate a certain dollar amount that gets transferred into your savings on a certain day. And others allow you to, one other way you can do this is by even going to your job and saying, I would like to deposit most of my check, that 90 or that 80, into my checking account, but could you put this other 10% into a savings account? So for me, I have an automatic dispersal from my check that allows a portion of my paycheck to go into a high yield saving account, and then the other portion of my check goes into a checking account where I can spend on the daily necessities of life. If you do not put away money, you will never build wealth. You need access to coins, as he says, and it will feel good when that little purse starts fattening. So as you're putting in coins, is the parable that was used, it begins to widen and grow, and eventually that little purse becomes heavy, and you're walking around with a substantial amount that you can use for down payment on a home, that you can use to buy a vehicle, that you can use for whatever long-term savings goal you may have. And so it's important to begin to get in the habit of putting a little aside, just a little aside, and you will be surprised that little bit can grow and grow. And using the other cures that we're going to talk about, it can grow even exponentially. And today we don't have coins. We don't walk around with purses that have, a bunch of gold coins in them. But instead, you may have a bank account where you can look at it and you see those zeros adding on, and you see those figures growing. And so that's what we're aiming for, is to be able to take the funds that we have and realize, you know what, I have a right to keep some for myself. Oftentimes we are working so hard for other people. We're working hard for MasterCard. We're working hard for Chase Bank. We're working hard for our mortgage provider. We're working hard for our phone company. We're working hard. We're spending time at work to make money to pay them. But some portion of those resources need to be kept for yourself. So begin to think about your budget. Begin to think about the income and the expenses that are going on in your life, and figure out, how can I make sure that there is a spread between my income and expenses where I have a surplus left over that can be saved. Now, after the first cure, the second cure for a lean purse is control thy expenditures. And that goes along with being able to budget well. The quote says, "The gold we retain from our earnings is but the start." So that first step is but the start. And what each of us calls our necessary expenses will always grow to equal our incomes, unless we protest to the contrary. And confuse not necessary expenses with thy desires. This is so key and so important for us all to understand. And I didn't really realize this until I was working in my career for a few years, and I noticed that as I got a raise, something would happen with my expenses, or something would seem like a necessity that used to not be a necessity. Being able to go get my hair done, my eyebrows done, doing things more frequently than I used to, eating out more frequently than I used to. They are not necessities. Now, we have to be able to stop confusing necessities with the things that we just desire, the things that we just want. And if you have enough resources to afford the things you want, that's great. But if you want to build wealth, you cannot be going and spending your entire income on things that are luxuries. So let's break this down a little further. A luxury versus necessity. A necessity is that you have to eat. A necessity is that you need groceries in your fridge. You need to be able to cook a meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Great. But a luxury is being able to go out to a restaurant and pay $50 for dinner where you could have stayed at home and made a meal for $10. And so that's the difference between luxury and necessity. Yes, there are things that you have to do to live, to have a healthy mind, to have a healthy life, but there are things that we do that we have access to that make life simpler, but they are luxuries. Yes, you need to be able to get from one destination to another. But do you need a Maybach? Do you need a BMW? Do you need a fancy car to do it? Not necessarily. A Toyota or a Honda or Hyundai, they are also good vehicles that last long and will get you from point A to point B. And so being able to say, all right, my need is going from A to B, but the luxury is paying $50,000 more on a vehicle or having such a high payment that I'm feeling pressure to work and to find income to afford my car payment. It's a luxury. And so we cannot allow the luxuries in our lives to build up over and over again. Even as our income rises, our expenses continue to rise along with it. And so we never complete the first step of putting aside that 10% because we are consuming so many things. And so the second cure for a lean purse is to stop the luxuries, stop protest against your expenses growing at the same pace as your income. And this can be difficult, but it is definitely worth it. You know, when I listen to Dave Ramsey, he talks about you need to be able to do something that no one else is willing to do so you later can live like no one else is able to live. And so if you're going to build wealth, real wealth, you're going to need to take a different approach in life than those around you. You may see your peers driving the fancy car. You may see your peers in the big house. You may see your peers doing well or going on trips, but you don't know how they're affording that. And so you need to be mindful not of what everyone around you is doing, but what is going on with you. What is your income? What can you afford? And keep your expenses below your income. Keep your expenses below your income. Live your wage. Live your wage. It's not worth it to go into debt to have fun on a trip and then for years having the stress of trying to pay off a bill that should never have happened in the first place. It's a luxury. And so we're going to if we're going to build wealth, we're going to protest to our expenses growing at the same pace as our income, and instead use wisdom to figure out how do I keep even more of my income, that I can invest it, that I can grow it, and help it to be a benefit to me, my family, and loved ones. Our next cure is make thy gold multiply. In this one, it reads, the earnings it will make shall build our fortunes. Learn how to make your treasures work for you. Make it your slave. Make its children and its children's children work for you. Now, this quote is talking about money. So when you have those coins, you have those dollars, it's saying make those coins make more of itself. So that dollar begets another dollar, and those $2 beget two more dollars, and those $4 beget four more dollars. And so you have growth of the money. We need to learn how to invest. And I know that there are people I've spoken to who have said, oh, I don't understand investing. The stock market is very risky. It's like gambling with your money. That's why it's so important that we learn and we learn the history of the stock market, that we learn the history of investing, that we learn the different ways and the different avenues with which we can invest. And so when you learn about the stock market, you learn that yes, it fluctuates up and down, but the trend over the past 30 years has overall been up. And so when you are investing in the stock market, you're investing for the long term to see your dollars continue to grow. So yeah, day to day, it may go up, it may go down, it may go up, it may go down, but if it's going up and down, up and down, up and down, but increasing, then in the long term, you should have more than what you put in there. And so when we allow our gold, our money to multiply, we are using the power of compound interest in our favor. Now, you may not know what compound interest is, but if you have a credit card, you are a slave to compound interest. And let's think about it. When we have a credit card, there is an interest rate of 20%. Sometimes as high as 30%, 35% that we are paying. So then when we put money towards our payment, we're paying off our credit card, the whole portion of the money we put towards our bill does not go to paying off the principal. It does not go to paying off our credit card. Instead, some of it goes to this interest, this imaginary interest that gets paid to the bank because they gave us the opportunity to use their money to pay for something else. And so we want interest to work in our favor and not against us. When we're using credit cards, we're paying extra fees called interest to the bank for being able to use their money through a credit card. But when we are investing in the stock market or we're investing in other ways, we're allowing interest to be gained in our favor. Money that comes to us that we didn't have to work for, that is allowing our money to multiply. So like I said, that $1 becomes $2, $2 becomes $4, $4 becomes $8. And we are seeing exponential increase of our money. And it allows us to understand and to realize that we don't always have to work for every single dollar that comes in. See, that first cure that we were talking about, that is you work for money and you save what you can. That 10% is that minimum that you should be saving. But once you have that minimum, you take it, put it in an investment that allows it to grow and grow and grow. If you have a high yield savings account and it's giving you 5% of whatever is in your account, that is interest working in your favor. There is a check or there is money deposited into your account because you are using that bank. So look for ways where you can invest your money and that money can turn into more for you. The fourth cure, guard thy treasures from loss. It is wise to be intrigued by larger earnings when thy principal may be lost. I say not. The penalty of risk is probable loss. Study carefully before putting thy treasures, each assurance that it may be safely reclaimed. Be not misled by thy own romantic desires to make wealth rapidly. And so in the fourth cure, guard thy treasures from loss, Arcad is advising us that we should not take on risky investments or participate in get rich schemes that could eventually erode our finances. So after you've done all this investing, after you've done all this saving, you've worked for your money, you put the extra aside, you're growing your wealth. There may be opportunities presented to you that you have to decline. And throughout the book, it also goes into the 5 laws of gold. which speak very much to this point. When you have money, you have to take into account risk. You have to take into account that there are people out there who are going to advise you to do certain things with your money that may benefit them but won't benefit you. And so, in order to prevent loss, you need to surround yourself with people who are going to advise you correctly, who are going to encourage you and teach you about investing, who are going to be able to say, hey, you know, I'm 30 years I'm 30 years your elder, but I've gone through some things and here's what's worked for me and this is how I did it. And then you can follow the path of that person or that mentor because they were able to build the wealth that you want to create and they can show you how to get there. But if there are people that are just saying things and saying that you have an opportunity here and let's do this, but they have no background, they have no experience, they are not qualified, they haven't put in the right amount of time into acquiring the knowledge needed to execute the plan presented, then you should make sure that you take into account the risk that needs to go. Risk needs to be factored into your decisions regarding your finances so that it does not dwindle. You don't want to build up so much and then have it all fall apart because of a risky investment or get rich quick scheme. So be careful, be wise. Surround yourself with people who can speak to you and teach you and help you along your journey of building wealth. The fifth cure for a lean purse: make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. Arcad advises that we buy versus rent our primary residence. And he says this in this quote: I recommend that every man own the roof that sheltereth him and his. And he also says, nor is it beyond the ability of any well-intentioned man to own his home. And so he talks about how it's important to own your own residence. And I think that this is a great idea. And I think that we should also be mindful of the timing. So if you follow Dave Ramsey, he talks about 7 baby steps. And along that journey is the purchase of a home and then the paying off of the home. You need to make sure you have some sort of financial cushion when you're buying a house, that you're not putting every single dollar you have into the house. And then when you get in the home, you can't afford a bill because all your money has been tied up in the mortgage payment. Or you have someone you bought the house with who's supposed to be renting from you and then they leave and now you can't afford the payment anymore. Or even if the taxes go up or the insurance on the house goes up, can you afford it? If something breaks down as a renter, you can call the landlord and say, hey, come fix this. But when you are the owner, it's your job to fix whatever is broken and make whatever repairs are necessary for the home to be safe and for it to be a place for you to reside. So when you are buying a house, I think it is important that eventually at some point you do buy a house, but make sure that you are in a financial state where you can cover the costs associated with the mortgage, the interest, and beyond that, your HOA, if you have a homeowners association that you're a part of, if there is a bump up in your interests or there's a bump up in some of the fees associated with the house, or even if there's maintenance, bake that into the number, the monthly amount that you're paying out so that you can feel comfortable and confident that you will be able to afford that home, that it will be a blessing to you and not a curse to you. So that was the fifth cure: make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. And this is a great idea because it also allows you eventually, once the house is paid off, you're paying down the monthly principal. It allows you to buy at a certain time in the market. I was talking to my grandparents about their home purchase, and a house that is now worth $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, they bought it for less than $100,000. And so over time, the value of property does increase. And so it is a smart investment to be able to buy a piece of land, to buy a home that you could one day be able to, whether if you continue to live in it or you could sell it and have that be a part of your estate. The sixth cure for a lean purse: ensure a future income. The quote here says, "Therefore, do I say that it behooves a man to make preparations for a suitable income in the days to come, when he is no longer young, and to make preparations for his family, should he be no longer with them, to comfort and support them." It is so important that we take the income that we have and use it not only for today and for now, but also to prepare for the future. And as part of that, I believe it's important to put money aside into retirement, and to put money aside that will not be touched in the near term, but is for when you're 20 years older, 30 years older, and can use the finances to take care of you when you no longer can work, when you don't feel like working. You can be able to retire and spend time with your loved ones and have income coming in every month that helps pay for your living standards. Now, how do you do that? There are a number of ways, a number of avenues that you can invest money in a tax saving method, such as a 401k, a 403b, an IRA account. I'm happy to go into these in more detail in other videos, but there are several retirement opportunities. If you are an owner of a business, there are other opportunities that you can access as well to put money aside towards retirement, so that when people or when it's time for you to take a step back from work and take a step back from the office, you'll have the resources that you need to be able to make that move without worry, without concern. And also, as part of this, I think it's imperative that we also look into things like life insurance. When you pass and your loved ones are without your income, life insurance is another way that we can have money come into the family to help protect them, to help them get through that grieving season without having to worry about finances. Where, it's so hard sometimes when loved ones pass and then people do not have money to bury them. People do not have the finances to take care of their estate. So I think we need to make sure that if we do not have the finances at this moment to be able to take care of our loved ones, that we look into things like life insurance, which can help bridge the gap until our wealth is great enough that it can take care of all of our loved ones that we would like to take care of. The seventh and final cure is increase thy ability to earn. The quote here is, "The more of wisdom we know, the more we may earn. That man who seeks to learn more of his craft shall be richly rewarded." See, our God here is advising us to keep developing our skills and to increase in wisdom so that we can also increase our earning potential. So often people are looking for a raise on their job, but they haven't increased their skills. they're doing the same tasks and producing the same results for the company, but still anticipating a raise. And I understand that the standard of living does rise every year, but you have to be able to say, I deserve a raise because I have increased the revenue at this company by doing X, Y, and Z. Or I have increased my knowledge and my skills. And so now, instead of being the assistant manager, I have the knowledge, the skills, and experience to be able to step into the full management role because I have been working on myself. And that is why we at Visionary Investments focus on investing in you. Focus on investing in yourself. You are so important. And there is no limit to how much you can earn once you have the knowledge and wisdom that you need to be proactive, to go out there and be successful. So I really enjoyed reading The Richest Man in Babylon. I think that it will be a great read for you. Again, feel free to go to the link in the description to purchase your own book or to look into even our Audible subscription where you can listen to the book online. That was one of my favorite features. I enjoy being able to just listen to a story, listen to a book, and absorb the information, take notes. So if you're open to that, you can go to Audible, and I have a link in the description for Audible where you can download an audio version of The Richest Man in Babylon.